Hey guys, over the last 10 weeks I've been trying to get six-pack abs. I'm going to show you my results, including the weight I lost and progress pictures, as well as the exercises, workouts and diet I followed to get them. So my 10 weeks were split into two phases. The first 3 weeks I just wanted to get my carbohydrate intake under control without dropping any calories and focus on ab exercises in the gym. In this phase I trained abs 4 times a week, picking 3 exercises and doing 3 to 4 sets of 10 reps on each. I read that it's important to build your abs up first because otherwise you lose fat and there's nothing underneath. Basically just a skinny fat look. Here's the first 3 weeks of my macros. Across all 10 weeks I was working on a 7-day average. This allowed me daily fluctuations based on how hungry I was. As you can see, I brought carbs down and boosted my fats to get me ready for the fat loss phase. As you might imagine, from keeping calories constant, my weight stayed the same and my progress pictures showed little change. In my normal training, I don't do a lot of direct ab work, but I have done in the past. If you're new to the gym, you need to spend a lot longer in the first phase training your abs instead of rushing into a calorie deficit. Rather than guess what my top exercises were, I went through and tallied up how many sets I did of each over the 70 days. I did 308 sets, which is around 30 sets a week. I'll just show you a few of the best ones. So hollow rock, this is a gymnastics move, 30 seconds of rocking, holding that dish shape. Weighted crunch started on the floor, but by the end I was using a Swiss ball and a 20-kilo bag. Stir the pot is one of my favorites, and I really feel this working. I do 30 seconds on the Swiss ball. Instead of doing circles, I try to write out the alphabet. Next is the ab wheel. I'm quite strong in this, so I was pulling my arms in during the prone position. Then hanging leg raise, similar to that, the L-sit hold, which is holding the top position for 15 seconds. Either with a bent knee or straight leg, on the pull-up and dip station, or hanging from the bar. I'll go through the top 6 a bit later on. The next 7 weeks were actually meant to be 3, which is why my training log is called 6-pack in 6 weeks. I'd watched other videos that showed good results in a short amount of time and thought I could match that. It turns out I underestimated just how much fat I'd have to lose for them to be visible. To give you an idea, when Brad Pitt starred in Fight Club, he lost 13 pounds, about 6 kilos. And you can see he's a naturally lean guy to begin with. If you look at body fat charts, it makes sense. If I'm starting at 15% body fat and I want to look like the 10% guy, I need to lose 5% of my whole body weight, which at 160 pounds means losing 8 pounds. To get a 7% cut look needs another 5 pounds, and those pounds start getting harder and harder to lose. In my 7-week fat loss phase, I ended up losing about 8 pounds. Looking at a graph, it's really linear, but then again, my routine was consistent, as was my eating, so it shouldn't be that surprising. I did add in another cardio session in the last few weeks just to make sure I stayed on track. The main thing to judge is obviously my progress pictures, since the whole point is to look better. I'm actually disappointed I didn't get that middle line, but that's probably 5 or 6 weeks away, and I've done this long enough. Over the final 7 weeks, I came down to around 1,800 calories a day, which is how many I needed to see my weight drop by about £1 a week. I kept protein the same, fats the same, and I cut my carbs to around 150 grams a day, at around 2 grams per kilo of body weight. In the final few weeks, I experimented with a few extra carbs and less fat, but to be honest, that made me feel hungrier and moodier than the previous weeks, and it wasn't enjoyable. So a few important points about my diet. I used MyFitnessPal to track everything I ate for the whole 70 days. It takes a minute or 2 to input every meal, and it saves you doing any guesswork. Most of the time, I wasn't counting vegetables in my total calories, which is common practice, with the exception of potatoes. I was doing time-restricted eating, so all my calories were consumed within a 10-hour window during the day, normally between 8 AM and 6 PM. I made a point of having carbs about 4 hours before the gym, but no pre-workout or close to the workout. Anything in a 1 to 2 hour window before can blunt your body's fat burning, so I avoided food directly before and during exercise. Other than that, it was just what you'd call clean foods. Chicken, eggs, avocado, brown bread and rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, peanut butter and oats. I did have a cup of green tea on conditioning days and a caffeine pill on gym days, which is meant to help burn fat. In the gym, I did 3 weight sessions a week on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I did fasted walking before breakfast on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is 40 minutes of brisk walking. Later the same day, I did short conditioning sessions. I also did those on Saturday mornings. The weight sessions were 2 to 3 exercises for 3 sets of 5, normally push, pull, and legs. That was followed by a few rounds of burpees and my 10 to 12 sets of ab work. I did a lot of front squats because they worked the abs a lot harder than back squats, but by the end of the 70 days, my stomach was feeling quite overworked despite its supposedly fast recovery time. Speaking of abs, back to my top 6 exercises. I did a seated crunch on the bench with a few kilos between my feet, sometimes a plate held to my chest. I did a long plank. It's a regular plank, but your elbows are at eye level, not under your shoulders. A similar position to stir the pot. Leg raise with a twist, mainly on the parallel bars, trying to pause and contract briefly at the top. TRX tucks, again I like these, you could do them with a Swiss ball too. Stomach vacuums, just expand your belly for a few breaths to warm up, then exhale all the air out and without breathing in again, pull your stomach in. I did these a year ago and my stomach didn't move at all when I first started, but it got deeper and deeper with practice. I do 10 sets of 10-second holds. It trains a deep lying ab muscle, but I found it helped me feel all the other exercises more intensely. The top one is V-sits. I would exhale and contract at the top. I like to put something between my feet like a rugby ball and exchange it to my hands and then back and forth. That just adds that extra half a second hold in the top position. So back to conditioning. This was from the Grey Skull program, which you can find online. Things like 150 jump squats or sandbag burpees, as well as intervals on the rowing machine and Tabatas. Most of them were under 10 minutes, or if they were longer, then at least half the time was rest. My favourite was 2 laps of a football pitch, running the length and doing walking lunges the whole width. There were a few weeks where I put conditioning in the middle of the day. I also tried it early morning before the fasted walking, and both seemed to work for me. There wasn't a whole lot in this category. I told myself I'd take a lot of cold showers as that's meant to help, but I'd say over the 10 weeks I averaged 2 or 3 a week. I also tried to find opportunities to burn an extra few calories in my day. If I finished work early, I'd walk 1 tube stop. I'd also make sure I took the stairs, and unless I was tired, I'd remain standing on the train home. I would say the fact I used the 7-day average for my macros is a form of lifestyle change. It allowed me the flexibility to go out to dinner with friends and not worry about missing a daily target. The next day I'd just have a light breakfast, maybe a lighter lunch, and I'd be back on track. So in summary, the key points for fat loss. Create a calorie deficit. It doesn't have to be all food, doesn't have to be all exercise. Try and find some balance between eating less and exercising more. Ease into the calorie deficit. By letting your body adjust, you're saving any stress and any extreme hunger. Eat sensibly. I packed out lunch and dinner with vegetables to fill me up a lot, and also got my vitamins and minerals in. Include some fasted exercise. I took 5 grams of essential amino acids and a cup of green tea before my fasted walking, and 40 minutes a few times a week definitely helped out. Skip the pre-workout. I thought my performance would take a much bigger hit from this, but my lifts were probably 95% of normal. I didn't hit any PBs, but I'm just as strong as week 1. Track your progress and your macros. I weighed myself a few times a week and took pictures in the evenings. I did it in the same place under the same lighting, so it's a fair comparison each time. I also tracked everything I ate for 70 days straight, and that clarity over how much you're eating is one less thing to worry about. On the subject of macros, try and find ones that suit you. I don't like going really high on protein, but on the days when I hit 180, 190 grams, it was really filling. I also found I got grumpy when my fat dipped below a certain point, so try to work with your body, not against it, when you're setting your macros. Finally, don't expect miracles. All these transformations where they make a point of not smiling or tensing in the before pictures are skewing our idea of how long this process takes. I needed 70 days to produce what you'd probably call an average 6-pack, and I wasn't chubby when I started. Have a look at some body fat charts to get an idea of how far you are from your goal. Try and value consistency over intensity. If you feel miserable all the time, then maybe your calories are too low or you need to adjust your macros. Thanks for watching, guys.